I was water baptized. A week after that, I called my dad and said, Dad, I just want you to know that after a careful examination of the Old Testament, I've come to the conclusion that Jesus, or Yeshua, is the Jewish Messiah, and I've given my life to him. My dad said, but son, were you water baptized? I said, yes, I was, Dad. And he said, Jeff, you're not my son anymore. What you've done to your people, you are worse than Adolf Hitler. He said, you are no longer welcome in this home. This went on for 26 years. I found out that my brother Bruce, who's my youngest brother, 5 years younger, had been going to Bill Hybels' church, Willow Creek, in Chicago, and taking an Old Testament class. We talked on the phone. He asked me, how did it happen that you gave your life to Jesus? When you made this decision years ago, Jeff, I thought you went crazy. But he said, today I realize that you made a good decision, and the one who needs Jesus in his heart now is me. See, my brother had a gambling addiction, and God healed his life from that and healed his marriage. So he said, Jeff, will you do me a favor? Will you call and tell Dad the decision that I made? And, well, my dad and I were on speaking terms. Our relationship was pretty good, but he wasn't obviously a believer in Jesus. And when I told my dad the decision my brother had made, I received the surprise of my life. My dad said, Jeff, your brother has made a good decision. I know about his problems. I see that those problems are healed. And he said, I have respect for it. He said, is there anywhere in the Bible that Jesus ever said that he was the Messiah? I said, Dad, sure. And then I shared some other scriptures out of the book of John with my dad. And all of a sudden, my dad broke down and cried. And he said, all these years, somebody's been calling to me. I just didn't know who it was. And my father's Hebrew name is Shmuel, or Samuel. And that was only the second time in my whole life that I ever heard my dad cry. And he said, Jeff, will you pray with me like you pray with all the kids with your ministry of global baseball around the world? Will you pray with me like you pray with those kids? I said, Dad, are you seeing it? Are you saying that you believe that you want to make the decision that I made 26 years ago? He said, I sure do. Will you forgive me for kicking you out of the family? He said, I thought you stopped being Jewish, but today I realize that you've been more Jewish than me all along. He said, I'm so sorry for what I did. I prayed with my dad. He invited Jesus into his heart. And I've never been the same. My father was never the same. He walked with Jesus for 2.5 years. The man was on fire for the Lord. My dad was a hard-hearted man, but he changed. And after 2.5 years, he had a massive heart attack and he went to heaven. At his funeral, 2 of his best friends approached me and said, what happened to your dad? That was one hard-hearted man. But 2 weeks before he died, we talked to him, and he said he made peace with God through Jesus Christ, or the Jewish Messiah. He said, Jeff, he really changed. This was a testimony from unsaved Jewish people, and they were basically saying, whatever happened to your dad, we want to happen to us. My dad, who was a guy who never called me when I was in college, never called to remember anybody's birthday, all of a sudden was now calling me. Jeff, how are you doing? Whenever I would talk to my mom, who divorced my dad many years early, I said, Mom, let me ask you, did Dad change? And she said, yes, he did change. And he actually asked my mom's forgiveness before he passed away, and actually prayed with my mom because her husband was having stroke-like symptoms, and he prayed for my mom's husband, who he hated. So the fact that he would pray for him at the end of his life with my mom, and God actually healed her husband, and then a couple weeks later my dad passed away and went on to go to heaven. So when I tell this part of my story in churches, I just see people crying, because it's just so powerful that here was a guy that if anyone said that somebody wouldn't get saved, it would be that guy. Well, that guy got saved.